Do I need to be a little bit more louder for Mr. Pranav Bhayani,
Hello.
Head Presales iValue InfoSolutions, and
That's a big,
Milind Sonawane?
yeah, that's a big task for me post the lunch. But I didn't want to come in between of the lunch as well. So this is a trade-off.
So Mr. Milind and Mr. Pranav will take over the stage.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I know after lunch this is slightly difficult session. Good afternoon again. Great. So have you seen this video? Have you found something abnormal? You found somebody struggling a lot? Who was that? Absolutely. So basically I always tell people, or whenever I take a session, we all are goalkeepers. As a security person, we are making sure that all attacks which is happening, we are making sure that it is not coming to our goal. And that goalkeeper is very crucial. See, there is a defense system all over. There will be a huge number of people around which might be stopping things to happen. But then that goalkeeper is the most crucial person in the complete game. And that is what I want to put this across, saying, okay, we all are goalkeepers. We are making sure that we are keeping that attack away from us.
Right, so we're going to talk about sports. Slides as well.
Absolutely.
If it's still sports, around on the next slide.
Okay, so basically what we are going to, next, okay. So what we are going to talk about today is talking about the IT environment change. See, earlier what used to happen is everybody talking about working from their offices 95-97% of time. That has drastically changed. Now many people are working from home, as earlier sessions also talking about. Maximum people started talking about working from home. So increase in threat vector has increased. This is what the IT person is suffering a big time in that case. The second one we all talked about whether we should report to CERT, not report to CERT, and all that activities. So you have a government and regulatory inside, or they are managing you now. They are putting more interest to see what's happening in your business. Third, infrastructure limitations, and this is very, very crucial. Many customers has multiple infrastructures, they have its own limitations, and that you can't overnight remove that limitations. The fourth one is cloud. We talked about cloud. We say that, okay, AWS is great, Azure is great, GCP is great, but then the complexity getting into that cloud is something which is very, very crucial, and IT people has to face that issue. And then last not least, zero tolerance to the downtime. Businesses doesn't want downtime. If you talk to any business and they say that, okay, there will be a downtime, they are always not tolerating to that downtime. Now, if you see in IT sector, you see the last line of defense for everything is the backups. We talked about, okay, we need to report, we need to revert back. Now, how you revert back? The last line of defense is always a backup. Your backups are most critical in that case because you need to revert back from your backup itself. And when we talk about a backup, we see three major generations of bad professionals impacting your backups. The first was, earlier they used to just come to your production, encrypt your data, and that's it. I'm talking about from the data encryption point of view. They encrypt your data and you are good to go. But then they become more matured. They understand that, okay, they are not getting the ransom. They started spending more time in your environment, and they started destroying your backup. And this is one more portion which is very crucial, because now your blast radius increases. It is not only your production going down, your last line of defense also going down. Okay, so how you will restore. Now, many people start talking about, I can cover the backups, I can give you immutability and all other aspects of it. They went one more step ahead. And this bad professional starts doing something called stealing your data. So as in the morning we talked about, there is impact to your organization. How much? Nobody knows. Your reputation of your organization goes for a toss. How much? Nobody knows. And that is where that impact is, which is we are talking about the stealing of data. It is not only the encrypting of your data, it is the stealing of data which is impacting your, and that's why you call that as a third generation of your ransomware. Now,
3 generations of ransomware, but I'm still trying to understand what the gentleman is trying to say. First sports, and then randomly went to ransomware. Let's try to make this into sense.
Absolutely.
As we go forward.
Pranav, what we are doing as a Cohesity is, I always like this scene, and I think we all might be knowing this scene. Can you play this video?
Gentlemen, this one as well.
ये शॉट लेफ्ट की तरफ मारेगी, इसकी हॉकी स्टिक लेफ्ट को है, लेकिन इसका पैर तो राइट की तरफ है, राइट को शॉट मारेगी, नहीं लेफ्ट की तरफ हॉकी, राइट लेफ्ट, या खुदा, ये तो सीधा शॉट लेगी। विद्या, विद्या मेरी तरफ देखो, विद्या लुक एट मी।
Okay, so what Shah Rukh Khan does here, he had guided that lady, the goalkeeper, that okay, how that behavior will be. And that is what we as a Cohesity do for our customers. We have a plethora of customers. We know many customers. So there are many customers, which is 4 out of top 100, Fortune 500 customers and all those. But what we are doing is we have the experience with us. We are making sure that we understand how these bad professionals will behave. And we are giving or guiding to the customer saying, okay, this is how they will behave. This is how you should be protecting your data. Now, obviously, what we talked about earlier was 3 generations of ransomware. I'm just getting into individual approach when we talk about the 3 generations. The first generation, we said that, okay, they will encrypt your production data, and you can restore it from backup. So basically what we do is we do something called instant recovery. We can do hundreds of VMs restoration in minutes. Your recovery time objective, recovery becomes much faster. If you talk to any other solutions, the recovery time is at least 8 to 12 hours to 14 hours to 16 hours. What we are saying is we are talking about minutes. And that is really critical for many customers, because now in case you end up into the trouble, you can recover much faster from your backup. Okay? So basically the first solution to your generation 1 issues is rapid recovery. Rapid recovery to your production data. This is first portion of it. Now becoming more critical, wherein many people gets into destroying your backup. So basically what we are saying is, we take 3-pronged approach here. The first approach is prevention. When we talk about a prevention, what we give to the customer is immutable file system. Whatever we provide to the customer is immutable file system. By that, nobody will be able to enter into your backup environment. Absolutely no. No backdoor entries, no SSH, nothing of that sort. We are making sure your backup data, which is the last line of defense, is always protected. That is the immutable file system. The second portion to this is immutable backup. Nobody will be able to change anything in the backup. So when I take a backup, that is like immutable backup for me. I'm not able to change. I'm not allowing anybody to change that data. And that way, I'm making sure that when I'm taking a backup, it is immutable till the time I'm keeping it for that much retention. And then the third component of that is no override. So basically what we are saying is, what we see is, when these bad professionals do the encryption, they overwrite your original data. They overwrite your backup data. We are not allowing that backup data to be overwritten. We will be writing that new block as a completely new block in our storage. No override concept at all. Absolutely no override. So your golden copy, which is sitting in your backup, will remain as it is. We are not allowing anybody to override that data. And that way, we are preventing anybody entering into Cohesity. We are making sure that we are giving you immutable file system, immutable backup, no overwrite architecture. This is the prevention portion of it. The second portion, and I heard in the morning, many people talk about artificial intelligence and machine learnings. So we have our own artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithm, which runs at the management level, which we have. We call it as Helios. What it does, it takes and detects any anomaly in the environment. As example, when I'm doing a backup, I'm doing, say, every 10 o'clock backup, and that backup is something around 50 MB, just for example. When this encryption happens, that backup might become GBs. Now that anomaly gets detected by this artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms at the back end. So basically the detection is the most critical portion of it. We are doing that for many customers in our environment. And the third component to this is responding back. In case you want to restore it back, we can do that restoration much faster way. And this is what we are saying for the ransomware attacks. I understand we can, with the security softwares, we can identify it, we can highlight it. How you will restore it is something which is very crucial. You need to understand that restoration process. And this is what we are talking about. We can get that restored much faster way with instant mass restore, which we have. We can restore your files and folders much faster way. And this is what we have as a solution for your second portion of it. Now, earlier what used to happen is everybody says that, okay, I want to move my data to the tape out. Why tape out? Because I want to keep that data out of my network. Basically, and I saw in the morning somebody talking about air-gapped solutions. What we are doing is we are air-gapping your complete backup data, which is the last line of defense. What we do is, in DC, you are taking a backup. I'll do an air-gap replication onto your DR site, or I can air-gap that directly to the cloud. Completely depend on you. But then you will have a complete air-gap solution, which is your last line of defense. And this is very crucial. So basically, earlier, everybody talked about tape out. Now, what we are saying is tape out is not required. We can keep your data away from your network, completely away from your network. And that is what we are talking about in terms of the second approach. The second approach, we are saying we can be giving you immutability and isolation from your network in case that is required. Now, third becomes more critical. Third becomes more complex because it is talking about stealing of data. Now, that stealing of data, there are two components to this. The first component is data security. Who has the access to your sensitive data? How do you know your data is not leaked? The second portion to this is, where is your sensitive data? Identifying the sensitive data first, because I should know where my sensitive data is. I should know how I can prove to my cert or anybody as a auditor, I need to prove my compliance. How can I do that? And this is where we are talking about data governance. What we are doing as a third solution is, we are saying we can converge that into together. We called it as data governance. Basically, data governance helps you to identify your sensitive data. So you can identify where your sensitive data is, which is the sensitive data of your complete environment. It addresses the compliance risk. In case there is any compliance risk, it addresses it. And over the operational phase, it will detect and remediate. So it is not stopping only for one phase. It will detect, it will remediate in case over the time there is something needs to be taken care of. So basically, identifying sensitive data, addressing the compliance risk, and detecting and remediating it is something which we do as a data govern portion. So basically, with that, we are flattening the curve which we are talking about in terms of the ransomware generations which we were talking about.
Interesting. So now we're getting some context as well from sports, more focused toward the data aspect so that the data is protected in various forms and factors as explained by the gentleman. Let's see how it goes in real life practical implementation,
Absolutely.
how it works.
Absolutely. So what we are doing as a Cohesity is, we are talking about something called threat defense architecture. So what is the base of that threat defense architecture? The base of that is immutability. The base of that is data resiliency, fault tolerance part of it. But on top of that data resiliency, we are putting access control, multi-factor authentication. We are talking about continuous monitoring, quorum concepts as such. On top of that, we are talking about detection and analytics. So everybody gets analyzed, the data gets analyzed, data gets classified, all that is done. And on top of that, as the earlier gentleman talked about, we have applications running on top of this complete framework. Applications like Cisco SecureX, we are integrated with SecureX. There are multiple applications, tenable kind of applications, which can directly run on Cohesity, and you can see the complete environment. And that is what we call it as Cohesity Marketplace, wherein we have all these applications, all these OEMs running their applications onto Cohesity file system itself. And this is more from the backup perspective.
Right. So how is it implemented in environments of the customers with this architecture?
Okay, so basically what we do is we have multiple use cases in that case. So basically, if you see data resiliency, access control, and detection analytics are the portions which we talked about. There are multiple use cases customer can use us for. That can be on-prem, that can be self-managed, that can be on the cloud. All the models are available. We are a software-defined next generation data management organization. So basically, you can have it as a backup and recovery. You can have it as a scale-out NAS. You can have it as a scale-out object, used for disaster recovery, used for analytics and all that aspects of it, data security portion of it, multiple use cases you can use it for. So any customer environment, you can use it for anything and everything. Advantages of that is, first is simplicity at scale. You can have unlimited scalability and absolutely no complexity. This is very simple to manage. The second one is zero trust security. I think the Cisco person talked about zero trust security framework. We are saying this is completely depend on the zero trust security, artificial intelligence powered, and then the third party extensibility. So many OEMs are running their applications onto this framework to make sure that customer gets more advantage of this platform which we are talking about.
Interesting. I think that whole concept about data management and data security is one aspect, and still we are revolving around the whole theme of the ransomware. Ransomware, I still, always when I speak of ransomware, I still have those old dialogues coming in, Firoti, itna le liya hai, itna paisa bhejna, you know, immediately all those dialogues. I'm a little bit filmy, but yeah, that's the way we are. So immediately we come into the next phase, which maybe the next slides we'll talk about as we go about this ransomware. So a little bit about iValue. Yeah, it was a kind of a jugalbandi for both of us, trying to make the movement lighter as well, so that you don't have to focus on only one person and you keep on doing this way and out of your lunch siesta. But as an iValue, as an organization, we are associated with a lot of these kind of technologies. One of them, our premium partners, is Cohesity. iValue is a value-added distribution company, and we've got the best of the breed technologies around. And what we do, we go to the market, try to understand, sit with the customer, what are their areas, what are their pain points, and try to see if any of the technology pieces with the consulting aspect make sense to be implemented. So that's the whole, the gamut of solutions what we've been tied up with as iValue. Again, coming back to the theme of that Firoti, X money is required and things like that. So data, I think Cohesity has taken care of the data part of it. It's there in a secured hands, but then moment, we already spoke, the moderators had to stop somehow getting into the discussion. Let me try to bring in this discussion again. Once you are attacked, let's forget that 6 hours or 6 days, forget that, let's not do that. Once you're attacked, there are certain protocols to be followed. And a lot of times it happens that in the panicky situation, maybe because of a senior management laptop is crashed, in a panicky situation, in a hustle bus, we don't just follow certain protocols. It might happen in a practical environment, whom to contact, whom not. So we got a bunch of protocols. Once you are hit with a ransomware, if data is taken care, but there are other protocols, engagements, reach out to the stakeholders. Now, it could be CERT as a stakeholder as part of your protocol. It could be within the internal marketing team to take care of the PR activities. Scoping call has to be done. How much has been affected and what is to be done, the SOW, kickoff call. containment of the activity has to be done by the necessary technical team. Ransomware negotiation, this is my favorite point. मैं इतना दूंगा. I'll give you, he says 10,000 rupees, I says 1,000 rupees. Let's start bargaining from that only. So 1/10 is the price we'll start offering, but then it does not work over here. He says, take it or leave it, your data is in my hands, you forget. So there is a whole, procedure of negotiating as well. And we have tied up with an organization who would do negotiation on our behalf. I'll still not get into the dialogue, but then there will be an mediator. एक जो आदमी होगा, he will negotiate, and that's done in a very professional manner, taking into interest both the parties and get the data back with the least amount of money or the least amount of work to be done. So it's not necessary with the criminals we are trying to negotiate with. We are trying to negotiate with internal stakeholders as well. What is to be done? Decryption using certain keys which are available with certain agencies. If that is possible, again, restoration, investigation, reporting. This whole gamut of services as applicable to the size and scale of the organization. Need not, everybody might have the full scale, full operations, but scale of this, we have tied up with an organization which does all of these services. And that's none other but iValue, our own company, which is doing for you. So that's about ransomware response piece of it. And going forward, what we have, these services, I was talking to a gentleman out over here. Services are into areas of consulting areas, what kind of alert monitoring, incident management, managed services, security devices, they are going down. So we've got to build an in-house SOC as well, which we could give all of these services, plus the PS capabilities. A lot of times, since we are in the value-added distribution space, we deal with a lot of system integrators, partners, contractors, and all of them. A lot of times, expertise to deploy a certain technology might not be available. So over a period of time, we have developed certain technologies which could be deployed in the customer's environment. So that's about it. There was one question again and again asked, and we've tried to answer in a particular way. We feel it's still people, process, and technology. And the people part, various statistics say so much of the gap is there in the skilled resource in India, and whatever the number is. At iValue, we recently started with our management support and program called iAcademy. And within the iAcademy, what we are doing is currently we are picking up a shortlisting, let's say 30 people who are fresh college graduates, typically from, the IT side of it, or some of them from the telecom side of it. And we give them a curriculum which is curated by us. Now, we've been in the industry, we know what is cybersecurity. So somebody give that, you put a couple of courses in a Mixi, some gentlemen give that. We're not doing that Mixi thing, but we just put a course and we make them learn. Now, that is the first thing they would learn from the academics, from a practical exposure. So we make them learn 3 months course, and after that, what we do an on-job training. Whatever solutions, how I'm talking, what to ask the customer, how to behave, all of those practical exposure, which typically a college might have missed, because it's typically done only in the project aspect, we cover that. And we will be doing for every quarter. We plan to churn out around, let's say professionals around 100, 120 within the next 1 year. And our MD has given a dream to it, that couple of thousand people, we would want to bring it to the table, which would be certified by iValue, trained by iValue for this industry. So this much bit we would try to do from our side. So that's all from my side. And thank you so much for patiently listening for after this, especially the lunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for such a great idea sharing. So may I request Ms. Shampa Sen Gupta to hand over the memento to Mr. Pranav Bhayani and Mr. Shailesh Bhadoria. Please be on stage.